For a building as historic as downtown's County Administration Centre, there was surprisingly little acknowledgement of it when you got inside. Well, that's changed, thanks to 8 original displays created by artist Jay Johnson.
No one wants to spend more than a few minutes looking at something, so you just had to pare down all kinds of important history into something that was, readable in just a few minutes and gave you a feeling and engaged your curiosity to learn more about the building.
Located in the 4 corners of the first and second floor lobbies, each display tackles a historical subject related to the building, which opened back in 1938.
Here's the old wrench, one of the old wrenches that activated the old heating coal-fired boilers that are still in the basement, these giant, really cool-looking machines that are sort of just sitting there. As the city gets, moves forward with their glass towers, this will become more and more of a treasure than it already is. I just want to spark your curiosity, to get you to think about where you physically are right now and how vast and interesting it is, and also, obviously its history.
And that history came in the form of old documents, objects and photographs that Jay spent a year collecting and researching in his unique makeshift office within the walls of the building.
We're down in the lower level. I'm sitting in front of the most dramatic part of the room, which is the old tax collector's vault. We put a lot of hours in here.
Fresh off the design and installation of multiple archival displays over at the county's operations centre, Jay was challenged by Supervisor Ron Roberts to do the same thing back at the seat of county government.
This project, artifact display project, was different because we really couldn't hang anything on the walls since the building is a registered historical landmark. So we had to devise a way to display artifacts in these freestanding displays.
Jay drew his inspiration for the frames from the designs of the original elevator doors and the railings around the building to create an Art Deco-inspired case that, in one display, holds the original hand-sewn county flag.
We found the lady, we call her the Betsy Ross of the county flag. She had designed the first county flag and hand-sewed the emblem back in the mid-50s, and she'd since been forgotten. And I tracked her down. She's still alive, lives up in La Mesa. She's 90 years old, and visited her, and she gave me her old drawing tools and all kinds of things.
While some of the display subjects were obvious, such as the iconic Guardian of Water sculpture that sits outside the building, others came to him as county staffers answered his call for interesting objects.
One staff member had been collecting postcards that had an image of the Civic Center, it was called back then, on them. They're vintage postcards. It was just a hobby of his. We took that collection and we asked him. He was real gracious. We rescanned all his cards. Then we found other cards that no one had seen before, and we did a whole display on just how the building was portrayed on postcards of the time.
And Jay's time working in and around the building directly inspired one display.
It just occurred to me, as I was kind of walking down here to the archive, thinking, what am I going to do with these 8 corners? And then here's this young couple and their family passed me, and then all of a sudden, boom. Actually, that was one of the first things that struck me when I came to this building. Is that's where all the smiles and laughter is in this place. Is people coming and going, getting married, and there's a lot. I mean, there's a lot of people that get married here, and it's a lot of fun to watch. As a kid, my dad took me to museums. I loved looking at displays, especially ones that had buttons you could push and things would light up.
Supervisors Greg Cox and Ron Roberts were on hand to light them up for the first time. And as an architect, Supervisor Roberts was particularly drawn to the display documenting the construction of the building.
A collection of old architectural tools. And I say old because when I started in architecture, we were still using all of these kinds of things.
You just kind of lose yourself by just reading a nicely designed, quick display about what happened where you're standing, 80, 90 years ago or whatever. And if it's there in front of you with artifacts and objects especially, they're a lot of fun to make, and I hope that the public, and they're going back and they're hurrying back and forth, has the time to pause and check them out and get curious about this place.
In the County News Centre, I'm Dominic Fulgoni.